Upon first looking at this case, I observed 3-year-olds having experiences in socialization. Molly, almost 3 years old at the start, is quietly watching another 3-year-old, Frederick, interact with other students. Frederick shows destructive tendencies towards the other children, which Molly just sits and watches quietly. Frederick's destructive tendencies can be seen as a call for attention. When he acts out, the other children and the teacher pay attention to him, even if it is a negative attention. Upon looking at Frederick's situation, Molly, whether knowingly or unknowingly, involves him peacefully in her game of pretend. In doing this, Molly has demonstrated to Frederick that there are positive ways to gain attention from people. He continues to have antisocial behavior, but this antisocial behavior is the norm for boys of that age. For many of these children, preschool is their first experience with socialization outside of their family. It is for this reason that children of that age are difficult to work with. They have little to no social skills, and the teachers and classmates play an enormous role in the development of those. They teach kids how to interact with people outside their family circle. Molly has an obsessive fascination with being a big girl, quote, quote, demonstrated throughout the case. She has 2 siblings at home, which could account for this behavior. It is never fully explained if she is the oldest or the middle child, but either way lends itself to wanting to be seen as a big girl. As the oldest, she will feel more accustomed to being referred to as such. Other children saying that they are older than she is would throw her off, and her reaction was to claim that she was going to be the same age as the older children on her birthday when, in reality, she would still be younger than them. As the middle child, the obsession would stem from a desire to be like the older sibling. This is typical development for a child of a multiple child family. In one particular set of instances, Molly takes command over another student, Christopher, who is struggling with social interaction. Christopher has a hard time taking social cues, not just from other students, but from the teacher as well. After having his birthday, as well as 6 others during the month of September, he began greeting the teacher every morning with "Hello, birthday," until he was told to stop. Mrs. Paley, the teacher, is concerned that Christopher may have some sort of disability, and upon reading further into the case, I began to think the same thing. He was demonstrating antisocial behavior that was totally different from Frederick's. Frederick was looking for attention from his actions, while Christopher simply had no idea why what he was doing was wrong. In the Vermont state categories of disabilities, Christopher might not be considered to have a disability at all, because social problems do not fall under the typical umbrellas. In the book, it was still too early to definitively tell if he had a social disorder or if he just simply did not have enough early socialization. Molly helps him. She has more patience with him than the other children do, and she includes him in her games and stories as best she can. This is Molly taking on the role of big girl in the way she wants to, by acting older than her years and taking on a big sister role for Christopher. The 3-year-old children are particularly concerned with making friends, despite having no idea the sentimental gravity of the word. They approach one another, whether they are playing with them or not, and state outright, "You are my friend," and it is taken to be the truth. Once one child started this behavior, the others quickly followed suit. Such acts of repetition are common in children of that age, ranging from the way they behave to things they say. On page 22 of the book, there is an instance with another child in the class, Barney, who is continually being pushed by his peers. One child does it, so the others see it as okay behavior. This is how children typically learn, through repetition and imitation, and learning social skills. Learning social skills are no different in that respect. Learning social skills, however, is very much based on demonstration. If one child acts a certain way, the others will act similarly. One activity the children enjoyed participating in during the day is story time. The teacher sits down and writes down stories which the children dictate out to her. At the start of the year, the stories by the 3-year-olds are mostly nonsensical. They were just the children stringing words together that sounded nice that way, regardless of the context. As the year progressed, so did their storytelling skills. The children would play out situations and would grow to understand what the words meant through them, with one another, and hearing the teacher and teacher's aides use them. The development of their language is astounding, going from nonsensical babble to coherent storylines with characters and conflicts. Children enter preschool as mostly clean slates. The only big influences have been their parents and family members, interactions with outside forces being few and far between. They enter preschool with small microsystems consisting mostly of family, and while in preschool, they start adding friends to that group. While this is a good thing, children need to be around people their own age to know how to act around them. It also adds a whole new set of pressures to the child. Peer pressure is more evident in teenagers, but it is found as early as preschool. In one part of the book, Molly starts playing with the 4-year-old girls. Prior to this, her stories had centered around wolves and ghosts, but as she began playing with the older girls, they became more involved with mothers and children, just like the older girls did. She modifies her behavior in an effort to fit in with them. This shows what influences members of the newly expanding microsystem have on their development. The biggest thing that I learned through this case was to allow kids, whether teens or preschoolers, to work out their own problems unless completely necessary. Many of the conflicts solved in the book were done by the children themselves and not by the teacher. If the teacher solves the problems for them, they will never learn how to do it for themselves, and problem solving is very important in life. Preschool students in Mollie's 3 solved their problems, such as a child acting out, better than the teacher did. The second thing I took away from this book was the knowledge of how language develops in children. By hearing things contextually, the students in the book were able to learn how to form coherent sentences in one school year. Mollie herself went from stringing together sentences based on how words sounded with certain emphasis to telling understandable stories with clear characters and a plot. It's important speech develops that way because they are hearing words used in a social context, which teaches how to speak and, on a much deeper level, how to communicate with the people around them.